Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's IC Realtime webinar. In today's webinar, we will be discussing ICRSS Pro. ICRSS Pro is the pro version of our ICRSS mobile application. All of the functions in IC View, which is our basic mobile application, will be in our Pro application. So we'll be covering both of those at one time. I have muted everyone's microphone at the moment, but I will unmute everyone's microphone at the end of the webinar to field any questions anyone might have. My name is Michael Caballero. I'm one of the National Sales Executives here at IC Realtime, and let's get started. So we're going to be talking about ICRSS Pro, our mobile application for both iOS and Android. The mobile application generally starts out at the home, but you have the ability in the settings, which we'll take a look at later on in the webinar, to set up where you can open up the software and it loads right into home, as you see here. We also have where you can load right into live view, or if you're just using a bigger doorbell, where you can load right into door, which again, we'll take a look at later on in the webinar. So here under home, we're going to have a few different options. We have live view, we have playback, we have door, file, and then a more button, which we'll take a look at. We also have message, and then our favorites tab here. Below that, we have on the bottom, we have our home button, we have our devices button, we have our alerts button, and then we have our me button, which again, we'll go through all of those. The first thing we're going to do here is we're going to start off in the live view window. So we've loaded up our live view window here, and as you can see, we start with a 4-split view window. At the immediate top, if you look to your left, we have our home button, which takes us back to home, which we just were. We also have a gear wheel icon, which we'll take a look at in a bit as well. Actually, let's go ahead and take a look at that right now. So that gear wheel icon, when you've selected a device in question, a recorder in question, that gear wheel icon is going to allow you some configuration options available to you from the mobile application that gets pushed out to the recorder and some of the camera settings. So you have your device configuration tab here. That's going to show you your serial number of the recorder, the mode that you're in, whether it be P2P or network. It's going to have your name, your generic name, which you'll name yourself, your username, and your password. Now, you may see the red eye icon next to password. That's going to allow you to see that password, and then modified device password, which will allow you to modify that device's main password. Next, you're going to have device channel, and it's simply going to show you the channels on that recorder. Here under stream settings, it's going to allow you to configure whether you're in live view or in playback, where if you're going to view your mainstream or your substream. Next is remote configuration. And this is going to allow you a few remote configuration options. The first being video detection, where you can alter some settings on your motion detection. You also have configuration for your alarm settings as well, so your local alarm settings, network alarm, your IPC external alarm, IPC offline alarm, as well as PIR alarm. You have options for your camera settings, where you can see all of your encode settings, so your frame rate, your compression, your resolution, all of those can be adjusted right here from the mobile application. And then your storage manager is going to allow you to adjust your record schedule from the recorder as well. You have the ability here as well to configure any of your alarm output settings in terms of closing those alarm output settings, setting them to manual or automatic. Your hard drive manager will allow you to see your hard drive setting, and I apologize, we have this demo machine pretty locked down, so we can't go into too much details there. And then a few other parameters as well. And once we come back into live view, you'll load your cameras again. Now, as long as, and we'll take a look at this later in the webinar, as long as you have resume last preview enabled in settings, you're able to select your recorder in question. So I have my 8128 and all of those cameras within. Once I hit Start Live Preview, it'll load all of my cameras. And then every time I leave from Live View, or I close out the app and reopen the app and go into Live View, it's going to go ahead and load in all of those cameras that we've selected previously. So for your end user, it makes things easy. They can go into the software and their cameras are simply going to load straight away. Now, to go full screen in any of these split view windows, you'll simply double tap any of the views and be able to see that camera full screen. Now, you do have the ability here to go full screen and pause your video using the pause button right below the split view. As you can see, it turned to a triangle icon, which will then allow you to play that video. Your HD button here, that's going to allow you to switch between substream and mainstream, or high definition and standard definition. Next to that is going to be your camera icon. That's going to allow you to listen to video through your enabled speakers, whether it be an added speaker to the pigtail of the camera or the integrated microphone that comes with many of our cameras. You'll also have your number 4 here. That's going to allow you to adjust your split views, go from 4 split to a 9 split. And from a 9 split to a 16 split, and then back down to a 4 split. And your start icon is going to allow you to load any of your favorites. Now, your options below that are going to be first, your film strip icon. That film strip icon is going to take you into automatic playback. So right from Live View, you can go right into playback. I apologize for the delay here as I'm on Wi-Fi. So once your video loads, you'll have the ability to move through playback here, right from the Live View window. And we'll talk about these icons when we do go to playback. The next options available are going to be first your manual record. So right from your Live View window, you can basically start recording if you see something that you want to get a recording of. So you can tap that manual record. As you can see, we have a start recording indicator come up, and if you can see in the top left corner of that view, you have your record time going. Once you're done recording, you can go ahead and tap that red icon, and that is going to save to your file folder. Next to that, we have a manual snapshot button as well. So if you want to take a snapshot of the scene we have here, we'll simply tap that camera icon, and that's going to give us a snapshot from Live View. Next to that, we have a microphone icon. So any cameras that have a speaker or have a speaker added to the camera, you'll have that ability to then communicate through that speaker as well. You have an all close button next to that speaker icon, which will close all of your windows. And then that eyeball icon you see to the far right, that's going to allow you, if you're using our Orbit drop cam, which is our indoor pan tilt camera, that is the privacy mode button. So when you select that button, if you're using the Orbit and viewing the Orbit through ICRSS Pro, you have that ability to turn on that privacy mode, and that lens will turn in on itself, giving you that full privacy. Now, our third row of icons here on the bottom, first is going to give you Ptz Control. So we'll pull up a Ptz here. We'll tap that bottom left icon. That is going to open up your virtual 8-way control. That's going to give you the ability to control that Ptz. It'll give you control for not only the Ptz, it'll give you the ability to zoom as well. So you can tap that zoom icon and have that ability to zoom in and out. Next, you have your aperture icon, which is going to allow you to adjust your focus. And your flag icon is going to allow you to utilize any presets. So we'll select preset 1 and go ahead and select that option. And again, that PTZ will move to its preset. The next icon, which looks like a circle with an eyeball next to it, is going to be for dewarping, for fisheye dewarping. So we'll select our fisheye camera. Once we have that in full screen, we can tap that dewarping icon, and we can go ahead and slide into our 360 dewarping here. So you have your virtual pan and tilt abilities here, right from the mobile application. The next option you'll have available is your image adjustment option, which will give you the ability to adjust your image settings. Now, this is only at the mobile application level. It will not make adjustments to any of those image settings from on the actual recorder. It's only going to do that directly here at the mobile app. And it's going to allow you to adjust your brightness, your saturation, your contrast, all of those image settings that you've come to expect. Now, a couple of these options here I don't have cameras mounted on. That first is going to be your smart tracking function. That's going to allow you to utilize some of your IMD and your analytics for tracking on the actual camera. And then PTZs with a wiper. You'll have that ability to utilize that wiper on that PTZ directly from here. And then the last icon is going to be that light bulb icon. That is going to allow you to, if you're using any of our cameras with our soft white light technology to illuminate the scene for nighttime color at nighttime, that is going to be your option to turn on or turn off those spotlights. And then lastly, we have our caution button here, and that's going to allow you to set any of your local alarm outputs right from the live view window. So that's our live view. Those are the options for live view. Next, we'll go ahead and go into playback. Again, we're going to select a recorder, and we'll select a camera in question. We'll go ahead and let that camera load. Now, once that camera has loaded, we have the ability to slide through the scene here to find footage that we are looking for. Now, once we have located that footage we are looking for, we can go ahead and hit our scissors icon. Now, when we hit our scissors icon, we're going to have a function come up here where we're going to select our start time. And we are going to then select, using the square icon, our end time for our video. It'll ask if you want to download your clip. You'll select OK. Again, it looks like we're having a few issues here in terms of our network. I apologize for that here. Let's try that one more time. Yeah, so it looks like we're having a few network issues, but that would then cut that clip and export that video to your file folder as well. Then you have your reverse icon, your play icon and pause, your forward and your frame by frame forward. Then on the bottom here, we have options again for our snapshot, our manual record. So we can simply start manual recording from here and then save that recording. Same for snapshot like we did in live view. We have the same option here then for your fisheye lens, then your speaker icon, and your all close button. So next, we will talk about some of the icons we have up top here. So our door icon is going to allow us, if we had a flutter, a dinger on here, to go ahead and load that dinger. So as you can see here, we have one of our dingers in our demo environment, and you have the ability to add any of our dash devices from our dash line, so our doorbell camera, our floodlight camera, any of our Wi-Fi, indoor Wi-Fi cameras into ICRSS Pro instead of using the Dash app, so you can have everything in a single app environment. If you go to File here, this is where you're going to locate all of the files that we exported. So any of those manual files, whether it be snapshots or videos, and then send those videos wherever you want them to. So to export videos off of the mobile application, you'll simply tap the checkbox in the top right corner. You can select the video clip in question, and you have the ability using the arrow icon at the bottom to go ahead and utilize that in any of our applications that you have installed. Or if you tap the floppy disk icon, that's going to automatically send that to your camera roll in your mobile device. And then lastly, if you want to delete a video, you can select that video, simply hit the trash can icon and delete that video. Next is your More button, where you have a few more options for your home page. So your picture, where you'll have all of your snapshots, and cloud, where you'll have all of your cloud coverage from all of your dash devices. So cloud is where all of your video clips will reside for any of your doorbell camera coverage, your floodlight camera, or your Wi-Fi indoor cameras as well. Now, Message tab is going to show you where all of your push notifications is going to show you all of your recent push notifications. And of course, we have our favorites here. Now, next we'll go to device, and device is where you'll go to add a camera and see all of your added cameras in your device list. Now, when you press the plus sign icon, that's going to then allow you to either use P2P, so that will open up your camera and scan your QR code if you have one available, or you can either manually enter the serial number and manually enter all of your P2P information. It also has your IP/domain. You'll select NVR. You'll put in your details for IP/domain, whether it's local or remote, and go ahead and save that. You also have an option for a LAN scan. So it'll search the local area network looking for any of your devices that are on the local area network, any of your recorders or cameras, and allow you to add that through that LAN scan function. And lastly, it will also allow you, if you have a device and want to share that device with someone else, it will have that ability to create a QR code. You can then take this QR code and you can put that in your camera roll and then text that to your end user, or let your end user text that to their significant other. So there's access to the recorder on both mobile apps. Now, under the alerts tab, again, this is where you're going to receive your alerts for your push notifications. It's also where you're going to create those alerts. So if you hit that bell icon in the top left corner, it'll take you to your list of recorders or your recorder. You can select your recorder in question. You can then enable your push notifications and then set up whatever push notification you want to use, whether it's motion detection, camera masking, defocus, IVS, thermal alarms, disk alarms, battery, sensor alarms, everything you want to have for those notifications. You'll select the notification you want to receive, then select the camera in question. You'll then go back and you'll hit that save button, and you've configured push notifications for the recorder. Do keep in mind that those notifications need to be enabled on the recorder as well. So if you're doing just standard notifications for motion detection, you're going to want to enable motion detection. If you're doing IMD, intelligent motion detection, or IVS, you're going to want to enable that on the recorder first, and then come here and enable that on the actual device. Now, lastly is going to be your Me tab. Now that Me tab is going to allow you to come in here and see some of your settings on some other information. So in your settings tab, you'll have the ability to adjust your PTZ step speed. So this is the speed at which you're able to control your PTZ. Your capture mode. So this is when you do a manual snapshot. It'll take 1 picture, 3 pictures, or 5 pictures when you hit that manual snapshot button. Your push video delay is the delay between at which you receive your push notifications. Noise reduction is going to allow for some ambient noise reduction from the background. URL is for alternate mobile applications. It will allow you, for example, if you have a Savant application, you'll be able to live view in Savant but not play back through Savant. So you'll want to use the mobile app for that. Where you can put in the Savant app's URL into here and the actual real-time URL into Savant's mobile application and have the ability to quick switch back and forth between the 2 applications. And then hardware decoding allows you to utilize some of your phone's hardware to speed up the ability of the recorder or the mobile application. Now, I do recommend if you're doing that, you make sure that you're using a newer iPhone or Android device. Now, here under the General tab, this is where you're going to set your default page, like I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar. So you can specify whether you want to load into your live view window, whether you want to load into your home, or you want to load into that door, like I mentioned at the beginning of our webinar. Next is going to be autoplay when not on a Wi-Fi network. You want that enabled so that way you can look at your cameras when you have on cellular or when you're on Wi-Fi. That resume last preview, we mentioned that again at the beginning of the webinar. That's going to give you that ability to, when you load up your cameras, every time you open the software, it will load all of your cameras once you go into live view that you had previously opened. Your notification tab here is when you add any of your dash devices, you're going to have that ability to set your notification operation period or completely turn off notifications on the application as well. Now next, and one thing that's very important here is password protection. I know a lot of end users won't do this because it's a little bit cumbersome, but this is, the mobile application to your security system. So what you can do here is you can put in a password, and every time you open the software, you'll have to enter a password to utilize that software. This is important just in case your mobile device is lost or stolen. Someone won't have access, if they gain access to your actual device, they won't have access to your security system. So you have some system notice options, your ability to change region, of course, set your region to United States if you're in the United States or whatever country you're in. You do have a help tab for your end user. So if they have questions, they can come here and they can see some of the information that's going that the mobile app does in the home tab. Some account management for when you're adding your dash device, and then a icon dictionary for all of your buttons for all of the areas on the mobile application, as well as an FAQ with frequently asked questions available to them. Lastly is your About tab. It's going to allow you just basically to see some data protection guidelines and your current software version. So now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take any questions anyone might have. I do ask if you have any questions, you go to the top of your Zoom meeting, you go to the Q&A tab, and you can drop your questions in there. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. So first question is from Jared. I have a customer with very poor wide area network upload speed when he's on site and on the local Wi-Fi. Is there any way to have the app automatically connect through LAN instead of the wide area network? That's a great question, Jared. What I would do is create a IP/domain setup for them using the IP address of the recorder. So when they are on the local area network, they can just utilize that setup and it won't use P2P where it has to be routed through the internet, and he'll have direct local area connection to that recorder to view his video. Yes, good question. The app will allow horizontal view. So as you can see here, I switched from landscape, and I'll go back to vertical here. So absolutely, you do have the ability to have that in landscape mode. Paul, great question. I would say probably I'm gonna go on a stretch and say probably 2015 and above. But I have seen this used honestly on older devices as well. There's really no standard there that needs to be required, but you know, if you want full features, so P2P and everything, I would say probably 2014 to 2015. The limitation on cameras and NVRs that you can add, there's not a limit to NVRs. However, there is a 512 camera limit, and that you know, really between any amount of NVRs. But the limit for cameras that can be added to the mobile application is 512 cameras. No problem, Paul. Great question, Lewis. Is there any way to isolate a camera from showing up on the app? So generally, you'll want to you have a couple of options. If it's the admin account, and basically this is all going to be done through user account control settings. Anything you configure on the recorder for user account control settings, you do have the ability then to not see that on the mobile app. So if you've restricted certain cameras and user account control for that specific account, once you add the account to ICRSS, you will have the ability to then restrict those cameras as well. Well, those cameras will remain restricted on the mobile application as well. Mark, great question. Will you be sending out a recording of the webinar for reference later? If you go to our IC Realtime YouTube page, so YouTube, then search IC Realtime, and you click on our actual page, and then go to trainings and webinars, you'll find the recorded versions of all our webinars on YouTube. Lewis, that is correct. It's controlled by the user account control settings on the NVR. All right. Well, it looks like no one else has any questions at this time. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on today's IC Real Time webinar. My name is Michael Cavallero. I'm one of the national sales executives here at IC Realtime. Have a fantastic weekend and stay safe.